How are you, sir?
What's going on? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy trails to Mac Brown.
Exactly. Happy trails to Mac
Way to go out on the bottom.
they're bowl eligible. By the way, Freddie Kitchens, legendary Cleveland Browns coach. Well,
oh man,
what? He's a former Cleveland Browns coach. Just like Butch Davis.
He's legendary too.
It's the second former Cleveland Brown coach who will coach Carolina.
That's right, Butch and Freddie.
Right, and how many times did they try to get Marty Schottenheimer? What is it about Cleveland and the University of North Carolina that just fits? Let's spend a couple of minutes on the Panthers' loss to the Buccaneers, which frankly they should have won. Eddie Pinheiro, so much for being the most accurate field goal kicker in history. He misses 2 kicks he has to make. Then Chuba Hubbard fumbles in overtime after Tampa's guy missed a makeable field goal. But I was impressed with Bryce. Was his best throw the incomplete pass to David Moore?
Or the incomplete pass to Adam Thielen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's dropped.
Yeah, I mean, look, there were a lot of drops in that game. Bryce has been, I think, I said this before last Monday, I know, and I think I've been saying it, but and there was a report on Sunday that the Panthers are not going to look for a quarterback early in the draft in 2025, which obviously makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Again, if you can repair those relationships, seen enough out of the Bryce Young out of the last month where you can't help but think, man, they might have something here. I mean, there's already the stuff going around about what if Bryce Young had CJ Stroud's weapons.
I mean,
insane.
Did I say that last year? Did I not say all last year? They asked a quarterback to come in with a terrible offensive line who couldn't protect him and no weapons, and they expected what? And when people were going bananas over C.J. Stroud, who I still think has not had a good year, but I still think is going to be a very good quarterback, and is a very good quarterback, but has not had a good year, like, oh my gosh, how did the Panthers possibly do this when 70% of the league was Team Bryce versus Team C.J. Stroud? Like I just said,
well,
we have to consider
both guys have sort of regressed to the mean a little bit,
Right.
As it turns out, and we didn't like the way that they handled it, and I stand by that take in the sense of how the Panthers decided to pull Bryce Young from the starting lineup after saying he was the guy on Monday, replace him with Andy Dalton for a few weeks. But like the result and the actual sitting of Bryce Young for a few weeks clearly helped just alleviate some pressure mentally for him, whether emotionally too, and sort of reinvigorate him. And he's come back in. He's looked like a completely different quarterback. I mean, he's played really well. Like the ATW text thread was popping off, like rooting for the Panthers. And I think, I was getting texts from my friends who are Panthers fans, a bunch of them. And I think it's like, even if it's just, they're competitive, that matters. Like,
right.
You guys said it right before we came on. Best case scenario, you want to learn how to win these close games. You want to make sure you're not losing. You don't want to lose. But if you're really competitive, if you're taking the Chiefs down to the final play, if you're taking the Bucks, both playoff caliber teams to overtime, and Bryce Young is playing well, and that's some really positive momentum for the future, particularly if you end up with like a top 5 draft pick.
So here's the thing, and I don't want to spend. I want to go on to some other games and other teams, but. And I'm going to expand on some of these things later, but first of all, if Andy Dalton isn't in a car accident, we're not here. We have to admit that.
Yeah.
Dave Canales, I'm positive of this. Not that I know for a fact. I just know the way that he talked. The way he talked doesn't belie anybody who was waiting for Bryce to at some point get it.
Right.
If Andy Dalton's not in the car accident and sprains his thumb, Bryce doesn't play either of those 2 games, and they go back to Dalton. But they decided after a while, I'm like, wait, maybe we saw something and give him another chance. But we would never have been here. And he has, especially the last 2 weeks.
Accidental genius.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a time when he threw the touchdown pass to Thielen to tie the game. There was part of me that when the camera panned to Canales, that he was like, it was a bittersweet moment for him. Because Bryce had led them down the field against a good defense for the second week in a row to put them in a position to maybe win a football game. And Canales is like, man, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the guy can play. So it was part of me about that thought in those terms. But I want to ask you really the question about why on earth do you kick the ball where it's not returnable and give the ball to Tampa at the 30-yard line, knowing they only need 30 yards in 30 seconds to go ahead, or not go ahead. To tie the game,
to send the game to overtime. Yeah,
I mean, why? What?
Yeah,
Buffalo would have been in the Super Bowl had they kicked the ball in the field of play.
Right.
Why didn't Dave Canales do that? On top of the fact that returning it beyond the 30 probably isn't going to happen, I just don't understand why coaches do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a case of first-year head coach, first-year kickoff rule, maybe not really understanding it, not understanding what to do in the specific moment. And, it is a lot of times those little mistakes that cost you football games and that, puts you in a position where you are, it's a game of inches for a reason, right? I mean, that's why we say it. And these little moments matter a ton. Tampa still could have gotten there, obviously, but you certainly help them. You put them on the 30, and you just got to get a field goal. And McLaughlin's been striping them. I mean, it's an in the moment mistake by a first year head coach for sure.
Yeah. And by the way, not knowing the rule. Not understanding the rule would not be a good excuse for anybody.
No, I'm just saying that's right.
I know what you're saying.
The Dave Canales hype train is back.
Not me.
But again, right. I mean, same here. Let's, I think the coaching in terms of the decision making on the offense and how to me, it's more Bryce Young playing well and kind of elevating the offense, the offensive line playing better, and not so much like Dave Canales has magically fixed everything. Because again, as you point out, he wasn't even going to put Bryce Young back under center until Bryce Young forced his hand.
Andy Dalton would still be playing quarterback if they didn't get into a car accident. All right, Will Brinson, let's get to some other thing. I'll just ask you a question: Philly or Detroit? Who you got in the NFC? Who's the better team?
I still think Detroit, but the injuries are definitely catching up. I mean, the Eagles' defense is playing really well. Has been outstanding. Best defense in football since their Week 5 bye. Shut down the Ravens. Jalen Hurts only needed 100 yards passing. Saquon Barkley with an incredible touchdown run to really seal Offensive Player of the Year since he's not winning MVP.
Right. That's Josh Allen, isn't it?
Yeah, Josh Allen had 2 Heisman moments on Sunday night. It was like Bryce Young. Saquon Barkley's touchdown run was like this great swing by a welterweight, and then Josh Allen's like, here's 2 uppercuts from prime Mike Tyson. I think it's Josh Allen's to lose. I don't think a running back will win it, but the Eagles are a really good football team. Yeah. They are running the football exceptionally well right now. Saquon is a difference maker. This talk about Saquon and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs and their record with their new team versus the record versus the old team.
I know.
The best example I heard about was it's like putting rims on an Escalade. Okay. Those are good teams anyway. And you add a feature, an accoutrement, if you will, to an already good football team. That's where a good running back comes into play. They're not great teams because of those running backs. They have great situations for those running backs to play in. That's what Saquon Barkley's doing. But the Eagles are running the ball more than anyone in the NFL by a mile. I think they're at 51% rushing, which is insane in 2024.
Right.
They're playing great defense. It really could come down to, can Detroit, and they still have to play the Bills, and the Eagles have a very friendly schedule, albeit one against the Steelers, but can the Lions hold on and get that 1 seed? Because the difference between Jared Goff having to go to Philly to play a physical rushing attack outdoors in January versus the Eagles having to come to Detroit, who gets a bye and maybe gets healthier because they have a ton of injuries, particularly on defense. That to me is where is, and I mean, kind of a no bleep Sherlock thing, right? Like Bills Chiefs probably comes down to who gets that 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's like who ends up getting that 1 seed in the conference. It feels like, Adam, we could be headed for, and this is no surprise given how the season has played out, but like an extremely chalky 1-2 matchup in both conference championship games.
I'll take Eagles, Lions, and Bills, Chiefs again.
Yeah.
I'll take both of those games again. That would be fine for me. In one of the great ironic twists of the last decade, is it possible that the Ravens' downfall will actually be their defense? A franchise that their reputation is just let the offense do enough to take advantage of the defense. That defense is going to end their season.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird, too, because, they played pretty well in defense for most of the game. Kyle Hamilton gets hurt. That's a big deal. He's one of the top 2 or 3 safeties in the league, if not the best. And, they limited largely the passing attack. It felt like the Eagles could have thrown the ball a lot more and like unleashed AJ Brown a little bit more. They didn't really need to. Baltimore, again, I think it's different than in years past just because of what they have in terms of offensive weaponry, but they're a front runner, and it's okay to be a front runner, right? I mean, the Bengals, not a front runner, right?
No.
I mean, the Chiefs, really not even, the Chiefs can be a front runner, but not, the Ravens are we're going to jump out early, get a lead, and run it down your throat. And Justin Tucker is a problem right now in terms of the kicking game.
He missed 3.
But like the defense is not as good as it has been in years past, and particularly the secondary, very vulnerable. They're a pass funnel if there ever was one. And so you could certainly see, Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or even Bo Nix or CJ Stroud take advantage of that in the playoffs. If they get a quarterback who gets really hot against that pass defense, gets a lead on them, can run the football. Like Buffalo, is a problem for Baltimore, in my opinion. The way their defense is playing, you get Matt Milano back.
Yeah.
You have Josh Allen, you have the weapons, enough weapons in the passing game. Amari Cooper kind of, getting in there, getting in the mix a little bit more. And then James Cook and Ray Davis have been great downhill runners. So that team in particular is a problem for Baltimore, and I think Kansas City could be too.
Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Let me go back to Thanksgiving Day and the Bears-Lions game, and this is what gave us the latest NFL job opening at head coach when Matt Eberflus was fired Friday morning. Should have been fired before the press conference. Ryan Poles should have come out and done the press conference, because I don't know how you can allow 30 seconds to wind off the clock when you've got a timeout left and you need to pick up some yards, right, to kick. Would it have been a game-winning field goal? Not even a game-tying field goal, right? Or would have tied the game?
Been a game.
I don't even remember. It doesn't even matter to me.
Yeah, it would have game-tying field goal.
Game-tying field goal. So I don't know how you can let 30 seconds run off the clock, snap the ball with 6 seconds left, and then your quarterback is apparently unaware that everything has to be quick, and then go into the press conference and basically say, yeah, I was good with it. Like, are you out of your mind? He had to want to be fired.
I'm okay with the idea, like, we're going to run this play, re-rack the play or whatever he said, run it. But it's like your rookie quarterback just got sacked in a primetime game against a defense that is banged up but is still dangerous.
Right.
Like what you need to do is hit the pause button, regroup, and at the very least get a field goal attempt off. And I do think, to your point, the double down and kicking of Caleb under the bus, more or less, in that press conference led to the Bears' decision to fire him midseason, first time ever in franchise history. By the way, 3 straight Bears coaches, John Fox and Mitchell Trubisky, Matt Nagy with Justin Fields, and now Matt Eberflus with Caleb Williams, have been given a year or less with the Bears' first-round rookie pick before they fired him, which, good luck with that cycle.
Yeah. I think this quarterback will likely have more staying power than the other two, but it's still a bad look. They could have called a timeout, and even if they picked up the first down on third and whatever, there's third and long.
You've got time to spike it. And
Absolutely, you got time to spike it.
Calling the timeout after the sack is a no-brainer.
And even if you don't have time to spike it, if it's fourth down, because it was third and long, if it's fourth down, You got plenty of time to run your field goal unit out onto the field, because the play will be over with like 25 seconds left.
Caleb can't take the sack, but like you have to have contingency plans in place in case your rookie quarterback takes a sack in that spot.
So unprepared for everything, which makes me think about the Jets. All right, so let's move to to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, who just figure out ways to win, and apparently they decided to go into the Wayback Machine. Russ, 8 years ago, Russell Wilson. They unleashed an offense. They still have the defense. Cincinnati can score on anybody. And the Steelers now, with the Ravens' loss, have opened up a nice little cushion in the division. They're going to win that division. That is amazing to me.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. I think Mike Tomlin, I wrote about this for CBSSports.com. It's on the site right now, but like the coach of the year race is pretty enthralling, I think. Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton should be the two favorites. Tomlin pulled the trigger on moving from Justin Fields to Russ Wilson when the team is 4-2, which is just something you don't see from coaches very often. I didn't think we'd see from Mike Tomlin. He did it. It's worked out great. Russ has been playing really, really good football at times throughout the season, does what Mike Tomlin wants him to do, fits in the offense, unlocks George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. And then, conversely, the defense is fantastic, and the running game's been much better. Arthur Smith, who's not going to come to Carolina. I don't know why they thought he was a candidate. Because he played there. He played there, and his dad's rich.
If there's
that's
ever
a good idea.
If there is ever a university that should go within the family for their next football coach, it's North Carolina, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, I think Arthur Smith's done a pretty good job with this offense so far this season. Certainly much better than Matt Canada. And yeah, the Steelers are winning with a little bit of juju, like a little bit of like magic beans sort of stuff. But there are times where they can look dominant, and if they get to the playoffs again, I think it's going to be chalky. I think you're going to see the top two teams from each conference advance just because it's like a layer above everybody else. But if Russ gets hot like he was yesterday, and a defense they can go. We've seen them beat the Ravens. They can do it. We know they can.
Right.
So yeah, I think the Steelers are that defense, that coach, and can hang with anybody. But yeah, it's like Tomlin, Peyton. You throw Harbaugh in there, Dan Campbell, Andy Reid. It's crazy how many Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell. There's some really, really good coaching going on around the NFL right now.
Will Brinson, before we say goodbye, all right, you mentioned Josh Allen might be the MVP. Looks like he's the heavy favorite.
Went from plus 150 to minus 250. So,
because he threw a touchdown pass to himself, and he's so good that he could catch a touchdown pass without catching a ball.
Yeah, the lateral, that's a scoring. It shouldn't take a genius, Garrett Jernigan, to figure out how that scoring works.
Wow.
But I do think that when you have these, it's not even like the fact there was like this watching. It was this weird brief pause. Like you could see Amari Cooper being like, "Should I do this?" And Josh Allen be like, "Yeah, do it." And then he tosses it, and the shot, the photo of Allen leaping into the end zone is just sort of that Heisman moment type of thing. And also helped me defeat Laporta Potties in fantasy this week. So
I had Josh Allen benched because I forgot to set my lineup before Thursday.
Snack Brown took down Laporta Potties. How you like me now?
All right, so Amari Cooper had his forward progress stopped. I don't understand why that play continued, but I'm glad it did because it gave us that moment.
And Josh Allen, first quarterback in NFL history to pass for a touchdown, rush for a touchdown, and receive a touchdown in the same game as he stamped his MVP victory.
Unbelievable. All right, well, next week, I appreciate your time.
All right, see you, buddy.